All right, next up on the build table, it's Gundam time, baby. Yes, because I have my hobby table out of commission, and I am working at my dining room table as my temporary hobby area. It's Gundam time. As I have said before in Gundam builds that I've done for the channel, not only do I love these kits because they're just so freaking cool, but you can typically get away with these without doing any crazy painting. You can pretty much build these out of box and they will be beautiful. So I saw this one while I was perusing around online. I had to order some other things from Amazon, and well, I just had to fill out my shipment. So here it is. So let's take a look at this guy. And as typical with these Gundam kits, this one is a Master Grade. I've shown before in other build videos the different grades of kits. They go from high grade, which are your basic ones, as with the Blazing Gundam, the one I did 2-3 episodes prior that I built up in Lake George in my hotel room. You know, those are relatively straightforward, but still a decent parts count. Here with the Master Grade, the kit will be a little bit bigger in its assembled form, and we get lots of pieces in here. So this looks to be very cool. And just to show you, because I cannot move the box around and not hit my camera, this is how our guy should look when he is done. Now, I haven't done a red Gundam for the channel before, and the only other Gundam I have built in red was actually a Revell kit from when Revell took a shot at a few Gundam way back. I guess that would be early to mid 1980s. Yeah. So I saw the color and I thought that's neat to add to my little collection. And to give you some more views of how this guy will look, here we go. He does build with the inner frame, and the armor goes on top, so there should be really good articulation on here. And then we get some more pictures of how he will look when he is built up with that giant mega cannon he has there for a weapon. You know, I simply do not have the time, although I would love to sit and watch all the different Gundam programs, or any at least that are available for me to see. But you know, it is what it is. There's only so much time. But I don't have any necessary background information as to character story or whatever with this particular Gundam. But that's the way it's going to build up. And what's neat in the instructions in this little box, they not only have an English translation, which is somewhat unusual for Gundam instructions, but they show you the difference of building without a panel marker and building with a panel marker. And because this guy builds up in red, you can see this one, they did quite a bit of panel lining with a panel marker. I have 2 of them now. One, my original Gundam marker, and the one I bought up from Hobby Lobby, which is just a very fine point black marker. Basically the same deal. I am going to be doing a lot of this panel lining to bring out more of the surface detail. Okay, going to take a quick break, and then when I come back, I'll have these bags open and we'll take a look at some parts. All right. All right, so as you can see, I've got quite a pile of plastic here, which we will go through in a moment. One of the things in building Gundams, you know, sometimes with cars and trucks, 24th scale, 35th scale, as hobby people, we tend to concentrate on parts numbers to get an idea of how much detail is built into a kit. I've never actually talked about that with a Gundam build. So after I go through the plastic here to show you what we have in terms of parts, I think I'm going to put right down here in my little comment area where I usually make fun of myself and all the different ways I misspeak or speak incorrectly, I think I will put the parts count, give you an idea of how many parts actually go into one of these guys. As a master grade, I'm thinking, just roughly guesstimating, it's got to be 150, 200 parts. But anyway, that aside, first thing I want to look at are decals. Now, the decals in these kits, particularly the master grades, they're usually highly detailed in terms of what's on the decal. Unfortunately, on this one, these are all vinyl decals, you know, peel and stick. So this is a little surprising because typically in these master grade kits, the decals are water slide and or dry rub. They typically stay away from these because these always have a cloudy surround on them. It's very obvious when you look at them that there was a stick-on decal. So I find this a little curious, but hey, whatever. As you saw from the back of the instructions, take a quick look at that. Here's a guy with no decals, and he still looks pretty awesome. And from having kept all my spare decals from other Gundams, I have plenty of dry rubs and water slides, so I can always work with those in lieu of those. Because this is a Zaku style Gundam, and for you Gundam fans, you'll know exactly what that means. For those who are not, that means it has that red mono eye in the helmet. That is the spot for his mono eye. And let's start with the plastic. So, one of the things that is always to be appreciated with these Bandai kits, if you look at this sprue, now this one's black, so it's a little bit hard to tell, but just looking at those parts, one thing you will notice is there is not a speck of flash or mold misalignment. There are some mold lines, faint mold lines that occur on some of these pieces, but otherwise Bandai molds are pristine. I mean, they're just unreal how precise they are. And you can see that in here. And all of these little slots and recesses, these are all chances to go in there with the panel line marker. And I look forward to doing that because just as decals help bring a kit to life, with these Gundams going in there with the panel line marker, boy, oh boy, it really makes a kit snap. So we got one of his regular armaments here. We have the tubes that wrap around his abdomen here, molded as a solid piece, which is nice to see because on some Zaku kits, you get an inner piece and you have to slide the collars over it, which looks great when it's done, but it's not the most fun to do. But that is solved for us here. And now we're looking at more of the inner frame pieces, and you can see, look how sharp all of that is. I love that. It just gets me so happy. You know, for anyone who spent a little time in the hobby, you know, the cleanliness of your parts is always a thing to consider. You know, yes, cleaning up flash, it doesn't take any kind of, you know, super expertise to do, but it is a tedious task. And, you know, for people like me, I'm looking at it as I am buying a kit and I want the manufacturer to do their part to give me a quality build. And to me, part of that is giving me pieces that are molded cleanly. Painting, obviously, that goes with the production, you know, the build process of a kit. That's on you, and that is part of the hobby, so I don't have any quibble with that. But cleanliness of pieces gets me very happy when I see that a company has taken time to keep their molds clean. And these are a little more flexible. These are ones for his legs. Again, we can just pop those off, and it just to give you a location That's those, and that was the one around his waist. That's a hard plastic. This is a little bit of a softer plastic. So that's good. And looking at them, you can see they have these ball ends. So between the ball end and the flexibility, they should not impede that leg movement. Oops. Moving on. And, you know, again, in terms of kit design, I love the color separation on these kits. And I don't know why, but, you know, when I do a Gundam kit and they always have one sprue that has like 3 or 4 different molding colors on it. And, you know, this thing was done, I assume, in one mold shot. And the fact that they can do that and have it come out pristine, that's really cool. We got clear, we have this orangey red, this brownish red, and this faint purpley color. Look at that, it's all perfect. Gotta love it. And now we have this gray. There's that mega cannon. So that will give you a rough idea of scale. And then on we go. You always get lots of sprues with these Gundams. You know, ooh, look at this, how it's, sorry, I was just appreciating the way some of the mold relief was done on these two particular pieces, wrapped all the way around. Yeah, you know, to get the color separation on these kits, and looks like we're going to have an opening cockpit too, right here. I assume what that is. Anyway, to get the appropriate color separation by molding all the different color pieces, that means you will end up with lots of sprues. And I think that's kind of neat. It is kind of exciting when you open a kit and you see all these different colors. Even get this reddish clear for his in-close acts. And some more pieces. I think these are parts for his mega cannon there. And another dark red. We even get, which on the Master Grades they will do, you get 2 tiny little figures, a freestanding figure and a seated figure for the cockpit. And these can be painted up. Normally I do paint them, but since my paints are, once again, packed away because of my basement mess, I'll just set that pilot aside and can always do that at a later time. We also get 2 hoses. This is an actual, I don't know if you can see it there. This is a copper wire, so this will be fully flexible and posable. So that is nice. And then we get this very soft braided tubing, which again is part of his big cannon there. Find that page in the instructions there. So I have a feeling that copper line probably goes inside of that so that this can be shaped. And there we go. All right. So there's our guy, the A1 Gunner Zaku Warrior. In red, Master Grade, very cool. Gonna add up the numbers of parts. Like I said, put that mold that have already popped up in the common field. And then gonna get the building. All right, so once again, as usual, thank you for watching, subscribing, liking, hit that alert button, all that good YouTube stuff. Always very much appreciate that, and everyone sticking with me as I go through these builds, especially now that my build area is compromised, let's just say. So time to get started. Alrighty. Okay, so assembly is done. As you can see, I have my guy sort of on the dissection table here. And what I just wanted to show was obviously everything assembled, but one of the things I had talked about during the assembly was the modular construction of Gundams and how you can jump around in the instructions without necessarily having to follow exactly the order of the module assembly, as long as you look ahead a little bit and make sure what you're doing isn't going to interfere as in any other modular assembly process. So I've assembled everything I can. The only thing I have not completed are the shoulder cowls, right shoulder, left shoulder, respectively. And the reason I didn't put those together yet, the arms have to mount on, then those go on, but I want to leave them off and like this right now so I can do detailing. And that is the point of this segment, which is now that he's all built, I'm going to go in. I have my Gundam marker, so I will do my panel lining. And even though we have this pretty full decal sheet here, I had mentioned earlier, these vinyl decals don't always look the best, and I will put that at that diplomatically because if you watch other Gundam reviews, people have rather pointed comments about these. But while they are clearly do not have the finished look of water slide or dry rub, there are some ones on here that I think may still look pretty good on the assembled, the finished product here. One thing I will say that makes a big difference with these, and perhaps is not always recognized when other people do builds. Yes, they have this sort of like matte finish background, and there are numerous complaints about these not adhering very well or just simply curling up and peeling off to pieces. These will not stick at all to oil from your fingers, the natural oil on your skin. So before you go to put these on, it's really important you take some type of cloth and thoroughly clean the piece so that those decals have a clean plastic surface to adhere to. If you do that, they should stick well. The other thing with them is you have to give them a firm rubbing with something soft. I like to use like the end of a needle nose like this, even the end of my diagonals, because the more you rub the decal onto the part, the less noticeable this matte carrier part of the decal will show. It will still show, that is for sure. It will not be like a water slide, or certainly not like a dry rub where you only see the graphic and that's it. But you can do a good deal of minimizing to make these look better on the finished piece, the finished kit. So that said, I was able to dig through all my stuff that is boxed away, and I found my stash of spare decals, this nice bag I keep, and in here I have all my Gundam decals from prior builds, and I should have, to my recollection, a pretty decent supply of dry rub decals. So what I'm going to do is look through those and see what I can match to these, and I'll use the dry rubs instead. Second thing, there are a lot of decals on this sheet. I mean, just this number one, this little text print, there's a good 20 of those, and then you have all of these directionals, and there's probably 100 or so decals on this sheet. That's a lot. even for a master grade. I would not, even if they were water slide or dry rub, I wouldn't use that many. I like to go with enough detail to make it look good, but I don't like the finished product to look cluttered. And between panel lining and what I would say, or let's just call it a judicious use of decal markings, you can still get a pretty nice look to your machine. Now, as far as leftover parts, I do have the little standing pilot figure. You saw when I did the torso, I did put the unpainted seated pilot figure into the torso. So, I mean, the pilot for this is supposed to be a woman. So inside, she is sitting there, and on quite a few of the Master Grade kits, the pilot is very difficult to see in there. And as you can see, even painted, you would not see much of her. She is tucked away pretty good and pretty well in there. And the little door closes it up. That's a nice, easy assembly, though, to get in and see the pilot figure, should you choose to go ahead and paint. Otherwise, I just have these pieces, the blade for the, I think it's called the heat axe, and this little Spitfire up top. I will not be using those because I will mount this onto the back of his torso. That's the waist unit. That's what that little slide down attachment is for. Either that or his regular blaster, as opposed to the Mega Machine, which is going to get attached to his back. So, going to show some of that. And once that detail work is done, then I will put him back together. But what I am hoping to give a good view of is the difference between, panel lining and not panel lining. So I'll do a leg and show it against the, a plain leg, and let you get an appreciation for that. Not just because it's a Gundam and Gundams are cool when they're panel lined, but also because these Gundam markers are, any fine point marker. They're great for doing panel lines on cars and whatever else you want to panel line. So on a lot of my car builds that you've seen me do, I use my Gundam marker, or I have another one that's a little bit thicker than this, depending on the depth of the panel line around the doors and hood and trunk, whatever. I go in and highlight that with the marker. Cars in full scale, you always see the shadow line around door, trunk, hood. So it's a nice little scale plus to have that on your scale build as well. All right, so let's get to that, and then we'll get to do a little final reveal. Okay. Okay, and here we go. Final build for the Bandai ZGMF 1000A1 Gunner Zaku Warrior. All right, so let's take a look. And there's our guy in all his mega blaster glory there. Okay. So, as with all these Gundams, always a very enjoyable build. And as you can see from the build process into finished product here, always tons of detail in there. Moldings are excellent. Fit, finish, all spectacular. Almost to be expected as the default with these Bandai kits. So happy to see that that was the case here as well. And I'm just going to turn them a little bit here and there as I talk so you can see different views. Now, as far as kit design goes, you know, this is a little bit different than the usual mobile suit Gundam type aesthetic, which tends to be rather elegant. The Zaku aesthetic tends to be a little more medieval, you know, with these spikes and the giant horn on the shoulder cowl there. And while that may be a little bit ridiculous in terms of, you know, reality, hello, it is it is all a world of pretend, so why not have fun with it? And I think this particular design for this Gundam really lends to that effect. You know, we have this craziness here, and everything with this is just kind of about being over the top, and I think the kit design works well with that. Now, in assembling this kit, if you've noticed in prior Gundams that I've built, polycaps. There are no polycaps in this kit, not a single one. Everything is done, all the articulation is done with the plastic parts for the inner frame. And on this kit, whereas typically for master grades and perfect grades and whatnot, the inner frame pieces are done out of like an ABS style engineering plastic. This plastic actually felt like it had almost like a little bit of a rubbery quality to it. So when the pieces fit, those joints kind of made it into each other really well, as opposed to the more typical hard styrene that you run into plastic kits, which on this one appears in the pieces for the outer body cowlings. The articulation is great, as you can see from getting it into this pose here. It does come with a number of different hand pieces, the closed fist, the open like drama hand, and a weapon hand. I just have the open hands on here just to make it a little bit easier to get into the pose there, and it looks close enough as far as manipulating his armament on there. You know, I do wish on this one, for a while with Master Grade kits, the hands came fully functional with all their joints, and you didn't need all these replacement hand pieces to pop in and out. You could just bend the fingers as you needed to suit what you wanted. Yes, that made for a rather attention demanding assembly, because lots of small pieces and cleanup. But other downside would be that because they are small and delicate, they don't necessarily have an iron grip on things, whereas the pre-molded hands clearly will hold things more securely. But the downside being that you then have to, you know, pop hands out, pop different hands in, and keep all these hands on the side somewhere as spare pieces ready to go to switch them out. Whereas the articulated hands, you just position them as need be. I saw on HobbyLink, a great website for all things Gundam. They do have aftermarket add-ons from Bandai for the operable hands, the articulated hands. So that is a very cool thing that I had never seen before, and might just venture into that to give it a shot on the next Master Grade that I do, if it does not come with those individually articulated fingers. Okay, aside from that, next thing to address, decals. Now you see I do have some decal markings on here. I did not go crazy. I just did a few here and there just to add that little bit of extra detail. One, because my supply of dry rub decals is running low. So I'll have to see if they are on HobbyLink, because I know HobbyLink does carry decal sets, but I want to take a look and see if I can get some dry rub. Now, the kit came, as I showed, with the vinyl decals, the self-adhesive decals. I did use them on the gray plastic for the energy canister here. On here, they look okay. There was this one striping decal that I used to see how the white would look, and you can see clearly it is not a stark white as you would get with the rub-on, which is one of the reasons why I love the rub-ons. They give you this super high contrast. The white is like a brilliant, intense white, and it really makes those detailed decals stick out. I did, because I couldn't resist temptation, use this big vinyl one from the kit. They do show that on the shield, and I thought that looked neat until I put it on, and I gotta tell you, I am not very happy with the way that looks, but it's on there now, so I just left it. That was a little experiment, and yep, kind of got the result that I figured I would get, which is not very happy with the way that looks. This is also one of the kit decals, but being smaller and not having so much clear space on the decal, it looks much better. This one has a lot of clear space, so like I said, I suspected that would not look too good, and unfortunately it surpassed my expectations on that count. So, oh well, is what it is. I don't know why, as a Master Grade, this only came with the self-adhesives. It's the first time I've seen that in a Master Grade. There were always water slides and or dry rub, but it is what it is. I did do, as I showed, quite a bit of highlighting with my Gundam panel marker pen, and that too adds a lot to it. You know, with these Gundams, especially when you get to the Master Grade, and certainly with the Perfect Grade, there is so much surface detail in the parts, the final assembly. There's so much going on there visually. I feel like going crazy with decals just makes for a visual distraction rather than really adding to the final look of the kit. So I spend quite a bit of time when doing decals on these, doing one or two and then looking at what I have, and you know, really trying to plan and figure out so that I can have detail without you know, having it cluttered, and you know, making it just like confusing to the eye. So that is that. This was a great build. Really had a good time with this, especially being with my basement out of commission. Fortunately, that is moving along ever so slowly, but it is moving along, and maybe 2 or 3 builds from now I can be back in my regular setting, and doing something with more painting and whatnot. But That said, that is not to detract from the fun of building a Gundam, because Gundam kits are awesome. So I will probably be going into another Gundam kit right after this one. It just so happens I have another Master Grade sitting next to me. That's that. Wrap this up. And until the next build, as usual, thank you for watching. Please do like, subscribe, alert button, all that good YouTube stuff. And of course, most importantly, remember to enjoy your hobby. Okay.